All right, humans and other assorted life forms, it is January 24th, 2025, and on this Friday, I have a special co-host joining me from Communist California. That's right, I have the OG Gavin Newsom destroyer and host of the Adam Carolla Show, my good friend Adam Carolla. Adam, how are you?
I'm well, Dave. Thanks for having me.
You are in Los Angeles, in your studio, I see, but as I understand it, you are still living with Dr. Drew, which sounds like a reality show to me, but you're actually, because you're out of your house, right? Because of the fires.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to return to my home in Malibu, so I'm just sort of a rambling man, but I rambled over to Drew's house. And I've been there for quite some time. Drew's an empty nester now. So, he's got 7,000 square feet and just him and his wife, basically. So I took over one of the bedrooms over there. And it's been kind of cozy. I got to say, he's got a nice home. I smuggled my bathrobe and my slippers out before I fled Malibu, so I find myself sitting in his living room every day, my bathrobe and my slippers, drinking my cup of coffee, and then Drew comes in.
Like, is he feeding you? Are you eating on the couch? Like, what level of interaction are you having dinner with him and his wife every day? Is there anything else weird that I might want to ask there?
I took Drew out to dinner last night to a nice steakhouse in Pasadena because he's been so generous. I took him and his wife out to dinner the week before that. I've been bringing home food and been trying not to leach, as much as possible, buying big sacks of coffee and stuff like that. But, a couple bottles of water, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it is weird. I did not think I'd be doing this at this stage of my life. Or actually, I probably did if you got hold of me when I was 19. I would have assumed I'd be sleeping on someone's couch.
Right, because you could not get the job as the Los Angeles firefighter because, sadly, Adam, you're white. It is what it is. What are you going to do with that? All right, so we're going to talk about some LA fire stuff because you've been right in the center of that, literally and figuratively, actually, for years. And then we'll do some presidential politics stuff to wrap up the week. But one other thing before we start, when can you get back into your house? I mean, have they even given you any indication that you'll be able to go back to Malibu anytime soon, or are they telling anyone anything?
No, they're pretty tight-lipped about info. Lots of speculation, but the speculation is like, well, maybe a month, maybe 6 months.
Crazy.
It's really weird. There's the information. It comes out in little dribs and drabs, but hardly anything. For instance, I don't know when the power's coming back on. I don't know when the water, plumbing, sewage, gas. I don't know when the utilities are coming back on. They don't tell you. So there's also a sort of element of it's toxic. I mean, I don't really care because I worked on construction sites my whole life.
Yeah.
So like breathing stuff in, you get kind of used to a toxic work environment when you work construction because there's guys welding and grinding and there's plumes of smoke and it's like I worked in cabinet shops. It was like dust everywhere and junk in the air, but the folks who live in Malibu do not like the toxic environment. I'm all right with it, but now it's like, well, everything is burned down. Everything had asbestos in it or lead in it or heavy metals in it. All the furniture with all the foam and all the junk, all the plastic, it all burnt to the ground. And now it's some sort of toxic bouillabaisse and who wants to return to that? And what happens when the wind starts blowing and you're blowing this toxic dust cloud around? So we have to wait till it rains. I mean, there's a lot of speculation, not a lot of answers.
Yeah, I have 3 syllables for you, my friend. You know what they are? Florida. I've been working on you. I've been working. I know. You're probably going to Vegas. Okay. All right, let me throw to an ad real quick, and then we'll get into it. This time of year, many of us start thinking about healthy goals, losing weight, exercising more, or eating better. But let's be honest, a goal without a plan is a plan to fail. That's why Prolon's 5-day program is such a game changer. It gives you all the tools to turn your resolutions into results with a science-backed plan that's simple to follow. Here's how it works. Prolon's fasting mimicking diet is a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes your body while making your cells believe they're fasting. Researched and developed for decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by leading U.S. medical centers, Prolon promotes healthy blood sugar levels, enhanced skin appearance, fat loss, and improved energy and focus. The program's easy. It all starts with their 5-day kit, snacks, soups, and beverages designed to keep your body in a fasting state without any guesswork or planning, which is a relief after the chaos of the holidays. Here's what's even more impressive. Studies show that 3 consecutive cycles of Prolon can reduce your biological age by an average of 2.5 years and your waist circumference by 1.5 inches. And right now, just in time for the new year, Prolon is offering Rubin Report listeners 15% off their 5-day nutrition program for your post-holiday glow-up. Just go to prolonlife.com/Dave to claim your discount. That's prolonlife.com/Dave for 15% off. Start your year feeling rejuvenated with Prolon. All right, so Adam, I want to start with this clip from Bill Maher because you went on a rant on your show last week basically saying to people, hey, you guys voted for it. You kind of deserved it. Well, here is Bill Maher, who did vote for Gavin Newsom and I believe did vote for Karen Bass. And he went on quite a tirade on Real Time, which came back for the season debut this week.
Able to do much about the weather, but we do need a better plan for putting out a burning city than waiting for rain. America is so partisan now that even when there's a disaster of any kind, so many people choose to defend their own team, even over death. A lot of Democrats in this one-party state this week went right to, don't blame politicians, you can't do anything about the wind. Which is exactly half true. The wind part. Axios ran a story on how getting the water out of the hydrants in Pacific Palisades was more complicated than it seems. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's very complicated. That's why I pay 13% of my income in the state every year to people who I assumed were working on things like this. LA's Mayor Karen Bass, the Nero of American politics, was fiddling in Ghana while the city burned and later placed the blame on 8 months of negligible rain and winds that have not been seen in LA in at least 14 years. Yeah, that's not that long a time. Maybe look in the history books to see how our ancestors handled it back in 2011. I've heard people say, do you want to pay more taxes to fund this? No. I want you to use the exorbitant taxes you already collect to prioritize it.
Adam, that's the part I want to focus on right there, the sort of realization for the lefties that just throwing money at things doesn't really work. He said earlier that the 13% goes to people who I assume are doing the right thing. But I'm pretty sure now that you're living, you're a Druze, but that your home is in a place surrounded by burned homes and infrastructure and everything else. You're not assuming they're doing much of anything, are you?
No. And it's a really flawed concept, the thing of, because it's a Democratic thing all the time. They do this sort of underfunded, they lack resources. Okay, we just spent $24 billion on homelessness, and it's worse. So Is that a resource issue? And what school systems spend the most per student on their kids with horrible results? You know what I mean? Like they go, the lack of resources. I don't know. If a private school can get much better results for half the cost, then is it resources? Is parents staying at home, at night and making sure their kids do their homework? How much does that cost?
Mm-hmm.
Getting the kid up in the morning, preparing them, giving them breakfast and sending them to school and making sure they're on time and being involved. How much does that cost? So it's a long Democratic lie essentially about resources all the time. Yeah. Bill Maher, I don't know, maybe Bill Maher makes $25 million a year. I don't know. He makes a fair bit off the show. He does a lot of touring. He makes good money. So if Bill Maher is and by the way, he's at the top of the bracket. So he's paying, $3 million, $3.5 million a year just alone in extra state taxes, and nothing's coming out the other end. And that's the way it always works. There's no amount of money. We have a bullet train that's $60 billion over budget. We don't have anything. Like what do you, I don't even really equate money to results in a straight line at all. Who spends more money than we spend? Who taxes higher? We have a thing in California, which is, well, we have super high taxes for gasoline, but then that tax money goes to the roads, except for we have the worst roads. So
are you telling me, Adam, that just throwing money at things and endlessly funding the boondoggle that never does anything, are you saying that's short-sighted, that's not going to work?
I'm saying it can't work because it's sort of fundamentally flawed. It doesn't work macro or micro. Like, I think if you had a son who was a ne'er-do-well son who liked to do drugs and stay up all night, you just sort of kept giving them more money. You feel like that would work on that kid? I mean, it never
I don't know. How did it work for Hunter Biden? I guess that would be the answer.
He had his own way of earning money by going to Ukraine.
Fair, right? True. He was a Ukrainian energy specialist. The crackhead, right. Really amazing. Right. Now, I want to show you something. It's actually related to budget cuts too. So it's going to slightly
wait a second. Yeah. Can I yell about Bill Maher for a second?
Yes, go.
Okay. I have been saying into a microphone for almost 30 years because my background is as a contractor. I've said a million times, live in your rent control apartment in Santa Monica and walk to the Whole Foods. In your vegan slippers, you have no beef with the government. Start a business, buy a house, try to pull a permit. You will then think like me. When you have to go down and deal with the city and go down to plan check and pull a permit and get the ability to add on a second bedroom or small business or whatever it is you're doing, start interfacing with the government, then tell me how you vote. I've said that a million years. Bill Maher had to deal with the government. About 3 years ago, he wanted to get solar in his house. Maybe it was more. Maybe it's 3 or 4 years ago. But Bill Maher had to go deal with the government and pull a permit and get solar in his house. And 2 years into trying to get a solar shack permitted and signed off on, he started to turn on the government. You're hearing Bill Maher 2.0. This is Bill Maher who tried to pull a permit. Now, all of a sudden, he's talking about regulation, if you notice. He's talking about government being too big. He's talking about too much red tape. You never heard these words out of Bill Maher's mouth from 0 to age 62 and a half. Now he never shuts up about it because he had to go pull a permit. That's
a conservative is just a liberal mugged by reality. I think that's what you're saying there.
And all the people in the Palisades and in Malibu who are deep blue thinkers, they're going to run up against the permit process themselves.
Yeah, they're going to get red pilled real quick while they try to rebuild their houses, and they're told, no, you can't. You literally can't do anything for 2 years while we just have stacks of paper on the desk. Take a look at this video, though, because this was 21 days before the fire. Here are LA firefighters at a public hearing warning about what could happen if they cut budget. So this is a slightly reverse version of what we were just talking about, but I think people will see.
If we cut one position, if we close one station, if we close one resource, the residents of Los Angeles are going to pay the ultimate sacrifice, and someone will die.
Just last month, fire personnel packed an LA Fire Commission meeting, begging the city to rethink the budget.
These cuts came at exactly the wrong time, with calls for services at an all-time high and our firefighters at their breaking point.
We are straining our department's resources beyond the brink, and we cannot continue on this path.
City Councilwoman Tracy Park was there, too.
Okay, so what they're talking about there was about a $17.5 million budget cut for the fire department. So we're both agreeing that just throwing money at things is not the answer, but also making sure that these people have the proper training, have the proper equipment, that there are literally enough of them. That would be that competent governance that I guess Bill is looking for.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if the average cop makes $53,000 a year and you want more cops, then you're going to have to pay for more cops. Like, I get that part of the budget. Of course, you and I are talking about these non-governmental organizations that advocate for the homeless or that advocate for, migrants who are fleeing poverty or persecution or whatever BS they're cooked up. And that money
or funding DEI departments at the fire department or the police department, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Right. The analogy that I have and had, which is a Katrina, New Orleans kind of example, which is New Orleans is below sea level, so they need seawalls to protect them from the elements, essentially. And the seawalls were not maintained properly or fell into disrepair, something with the Army Corps of Engineers, and then Katrina hit, and then disaster. So you cannot control the weather, and you can't control the wind, and you can't control Katrina, and you can't do any of this, but you can mitigate it.
Exactly.
You can build seawalls, and if you have effective seawalls, then you can mitigate the danger. And so, clearing the forest floor and trimming the trees and filling the aqueducts and having more firemen and having more firehouses and so on and so forth is the mitigation that we're talking about. That's what Bill Maher is talking about. What are you doing? This is a problem. And I think it speaks to a newer breed of politician. It's sort of like, let's break it down, Dave. You have Trump, and then you have Kamala Harris, right? And half the country likes Trump and half the country likes Kamala Harris. Now, Karen Bass likes Kamala Harris, and Gavin Newsom like Kamala Harris. Who's Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris is someone who just speaks in sort of vague circles about feeling good and dignity and having a seat at the table and nobody's illegal and everyone is welcome and these vaguitudes. There's not, and Trump speaks in terms of boots on the ground. We're going to take this, we're going to tariff that, we're going to lower this, we're going to raise that. Just nuts and bolts. The nuts and bolts people and the vaguitude people they don't really see eye to eye on anything. But when the fire comes or the storm comes or the Chinese come, you want the nuts and bolts city. You do not want the vaguitude city. That's what we have. We have Karen Bass. She's in Ghana doing a celebratory dance during the fires. She doesn't know what to do. And by the way, do you hear any answers from the vaguitude people?
No, not only are there...
Every speech Gavin Newsom has given in the last 5 years has been about, California, come here, you're welcome to love who you love. And God, I don't hear any talk about aqueducts or capturing rainwater or clearing the forest. I don't hear anything from Karen Bass about it. Every speech is some sort of good vibes thing that has nothing to do with nuts and bolts.
Right. When your house is burning down, you suddenly don't care that the firefighter who's saving you is a black lesbian or not. But love is love in California, and that's illustrated by the fact that you and Dr. Drew now live together. It's very exciting, and by the way, I'm completely fine with that. I want to throw to your friend.
You would be so proud.
I want to throw to your friend, your good buddy Gavin Newsom, because this video is making the rounds. At the end of 24, so just a couple of weeks ago, he did his California best moment. And one of them has to do with a little bit of something that might have had something to do with why the reservoirs weren't filled and that they removed some dams. And yeah, we saved some fish. Take a look.
It's Governor Gavin Newsom, and I'm here with the top moments that defined California in 2024. Let's get started. As I speak, the fish are now swimming freely for the first time in over 100 years. It shows you how resilient Mother Nature is, how resilient salmon are, and we were able to transfer some of the land that was underwater for decades and decades to tribes that have been there since time immemorial.
Adam, the fish are swimming freely for the first time in 100 years.
Yeah.
Have we been too harsh with this man?
He loves him some Delta smelt, man. He's a smelt man. I mean, obviously these people have been captured. I mean, it's a really interesting, at least time for historians to examine, which is a small, very small group of lunatics has captured one party and forced old, decrepit guys like Joe Biden to get out there and speak endlessly about the trans community.
Yeah.
Or Delta Smelt, who, again, I don't know what percentage of the country cares about Dylan Mulvaney. He goes and visits Biden. Biden doesn't even know who he or she is. He's got to be confused. He doesn't care. Nobody cares. I don't know why this very small group, the Coastal Commission is like 9 retarded people who hate their dads and live nowhere near the coast because they don't make any money. Who decided that, like, a really, they do this all the time. They go like, well, the left goes, oh, the Klan. Oh, we're not governed by the Klan. The Klan is super small, and I don't know anyone in the Klan, and neither does anyone I know who is conservative. But that's the accusation. But you guys are really governed by your version of the Klan, which is asswipe environmentalists.
Well, fortunately, they are not in charge of the federal government anymore. We'll get to that in a second, but just a bit more on how California has just been so rotted out. I'm sorry that every time I bring you on, it's so depressing about California. Listen, move to Florida or Vegas, and then we'll talk about good things. You know what I mean?
Okay. You're
please,
right,
please. It would be a pleasure. But look at this. So, when you talk about how the rot, it's this small group of people that push all of these bad ideas. This is another video that's been making the rounds lately from an LA Fire Department official. And just listen to the drivel. And when you talk about sort of what they should be focused on versus what they actually were spending their days doing.
My name is Captain Jennifer Wilcox. My pronouns are she, her. I am a Caucasian female wearing a black shirt uniform with eyewear and a black hat.
Were you taking your black eyewear off out of offense there?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the one that was clinically insane was the black woman who was given her speech about wanting to have people that look like you save you, which is insane projection racism. It is such insane racism. I've been screaming about this for a million years ago. The fire department needs to reflect the community. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Why? Listen, LAX, TSA at LAX is about 86% black. Guess who doesn't care? This traveler. Don't care.
They don't seem to be particularly competent, but that's a whole other issue.
Well, yeah, they're angry, but still, I don't need them to reflect my community of Malibu.
Right.
So we're good. I'm just traveling through here. You're just doing a job. That's all. And when it comes to fire, I would say, maybe you could make some argument for African-American cops on the beat in a predominantly black community. I don't like that we have to make that argument, but okay, you could make that argument. And maybe you could make that argument for some school teachers in a black community or something, but not firemen, not at all. It's of no consequence what they are when they show up to your house at night and smoke so thick you can't see your hand in front of your face, what they are.
Yeah, and that video you're referring to where the woman says, she basically says, look, and if you're a guy and I can't lift you up because you're bigger than me, well, you got yourself into that problem. Like, it's genuinely psychotic. I want to show
psychotic,
two more.
But there's the thing that's a little more psychotic about it, and be super fast, is they filmed it, they edited it, they put music under it, and somebody released it.
Right.
That's the psychotic part, the part where nobody raised their hand and went, hello, we can't have this crazy lesbian speaking for us. This is insane.
Right, guys.
What she just said is the opposite of what we do.
Right. We have one job, guys. It's literally to save lives. If you've hit that age where your body hurts all the time, listen up. Before you reach for another painkiller, let me tell you about a little-known turmeric hack for pain and inflammation that could change everything. You've probably heard that turmeric is great for fighting inflammation and joint pain. But here's the catch. Not all turmeric is created equal. A leading pain doctor from Connecticut discovered a special turmeric extract that's 200 times more powerful than regular turmeric. And when he shared this turmeric hack with his patients, the results were nothing short of amazing. This extract doesn't just mask the pain, it attacks the pain at its source, switching it off like a light bulb. Dr. Josh, the mind behind this breakthrough, has spent over 20 years helping hundreds of thousands of Americans break free from constant aches and stiffness. And his turmeric hack has been the secret to their success. Say goodbye to expensive surgeries, painful injections, and over-the-counter meds that don't really work, and say hello to living pain-free. I've tried it myself, and the difference has been incredible. But here's the thing. You can't just use any old turmeric. If you want to learn more about Dr. Josh, his turmeric hack, and how you can incorporate it into your daily routine, go to goldenrevive.com/Rubin. The link is also below this video in the description. Just click it to start your journey to a pain-free, healthier life. I want to do two more quick clips on this, and then we'll get to all the political stuff of the week, because it was, I don't know if you heard, but Donald Trump is president again. But Bill Burr, comedian Bill Burr, was on with your buddy, Jimmy Kimmel, and they were kind of mocking the people who are upset about really much of what we've discussed so far.
Oh, thanks. Very good to see you. I heard you had to evacuate your home. Yes. Like most people, I had to. I got lucky, the winds moved, but, the fire was coming and all that stuff. So I feel lucky. Are you guys back in? And I think everybody did a great job. Yeah. Unlike the internet, Yeah, right. I know. It's right. Oh, my God. All of these fire experts. Why didn't you just fly a helicopter into the ocean? And then just, I don't know, because there was 100-knot winds. You want to do that? You want to do that at night, you lunatic? How are you? This was definitely mismanaged.
That's a big word we're hearing now.
Mismanaged, like some idiot on the internet knows how to manage the worst fire in LA, sitting there in his underwear. You know what? Looking at the footage on the internet, I have determined that this here was mismanaged.
Adam, I know as a comic, you don't want to go off on comics, and I know you do feel a little more warmly about Jimmy Kimmel than I do. But the general notion there of just like making fun of the people that actually are addressing the issues, it's kind of exactly why people hate Hollywood, I think.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, look, we have people in charge of things. So there was a captain of the Exxon Valdez, and that thing ran ashore and leaked 2 billion barrels of oil into the Puget Sound or wherever it was. At some point, we want to know what that guy was up to and why he did it, and could we prevent this from happening again? And
he was drunk, right? Wasn't he drunk?
Yeah, right. I know. I think he was a drunk. But you know what? When you hire a sea captain, you have to know they have a drinking problem. They all drink. That's what captains do. They drink rum.
What are you going to do?
Even the parrot was drunk. All right. The point is this. Remember the police commission officer, whatever, chief in New Orleans a few weeks before the fire? And she's up there and she's going, now's not the time for blame. We can't point fingers. We have to. Of course, now's not the time for blame. It's like, your football coach, you just get blown out of the Super Bowl by 42 points. You can't go up to the podium for the presser and say, now's not the time for blame. Now is the time. It's exactly the time for blame. So, yes, let's start blaming people. And the way if you never blame anyone, and if everyone did a great job, then it's bound to happen again. Just like if the football coach who got blown out by 42 points in the Super Bowl did everything right and everyone did a great job, well, then there's no reason to tweak anything or fix anything or trade anybody. Yes, there are a bunch of dead people and a bunch of houses burned to the ground. Now's the perfect time to blame?
To that exact point, I want to throw to my friend Douglas Murray. He was on Rita Panahi's show on Sky News, and he really drills down the point that enough is enough, and hopefully more people in Cali are going to realize it.
If you even now look at the website that she has, her bio, it's all about the fact that she's a diverse woman, that she's a proud member of the LGBTQIA plus community, and that her priority is diversity. The numbskull we just heard from there, also in the fire department, I hope very much that LA voters and others take note of this. In the end, these people who talked the diversity talk didn't know what they were doing in the real world. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's not about somebody who looks like you coming to your house. It's about somebody coming to your house. It's about somebody saving your house from burning down. I spoke to residents of LA earlier this week whose home and all their belongings had been burnt to nothing and has had their whole neighborhood. And they said to me, not one fire truck showed up. Not one, Rita. Wow. Now, if I was a resident there and I'd heard this guff for years about how important it is that a diverse woman of color should come and how empowering it is that a lesbian is head of a... No, you just want competent fire authorities. And that is exactly what LA has not had.
Adam, so he's obviously reiterating some of what we said here. So I guess my real question to you then would be, what is rock bottom? Do you think this is finally enough when you're talking to your neighbors now? Are they going to break away? Does Cali have any chance of righting that Exxon Valdez, or let's say the Titanic, before it hits well, maybe it did hit the iceberg already.
I think this is it. I've talked to many people about this for long periods of time. You know, when Dr. Drew and I are drinking Postum in bed and just sort of sharing what the day, you know.
Who's the big spoon? Who's the big spoon?
Oh, I'd have to say me. I'm a side sleeper.
Yeah.
Drew's normally a back sleeper, but I've kind of rolled him over quarter turn, you know, just to get the spoon going. But it is it's unseasonably cold out here, so it's not a gay thing. But it's
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I've been saying for a million years about California. I would talk to Dr. Drew about it a lot. You know, I'd go, when is enough going to be enough? Like, when are we going to change? Because remember, we just had a runoff and an attempt to get Newsom out.
Yep.
And we also just had a mayoral thing with Karen Bass. So between Karen Bass and Newsom, this is recent stuff. And they both won.
Yep.
You know, so and by the way, you know, the only one further left than Newsom could be Karen Bass. Karen Bass gave a speech to the Democratic National Committee about 2 years ago that they took down or they hid or something. But she basically blamed homelessness on income inequality, which means you're basically a communist and you're an idiot at this point. And there's no chance in hell of you solving the homeless problem if it's because of income inequality. If that's what you believe, then you're an idiot and we'll never solve this problem. So she's horrible, he's horrible, and they both got a big thumbs up from the American voter basically 2 years ago. So I said, when is this going to change? And the answer is, well, when we bottom out. And then I would say all the time, why do we have to bottom out? I don't get it. If your son, I would use the analogy that if you came into your son's room and you found Coke spoons and syringes around and prescription drugs, would you have to wait until he flatlined before you got him help? Or would you intervene at this point and go, I think we need to seek some help? Well, there's an issue here. No one could define what the bottom
that's
was,
the issue.
But burning to the ground is probably the bottom.
Well, I suppose we shall see. And before we get to Trump and the good stuff, because it really was an incredible week, there's an elderly man that you're not going to see much more of lately. And he gave a speech that he's I would say, fairly poorly read off a teleprompter saying goodbye to all of us. And he addressed what's going on in California.
Right now, the existential threat of climate change has never been clearer. Just look across the country, from California to North Carolina. That's why I signed the most significant climate and clean energy law ever in the history.
Adam, do you want me to ask a question, or do you want to just handle that one?
Well, I've been thinking, with Kamala gone and Biden gone, who's going to agitate black people? You know what I mean? Somebody's going to have to step up their game up on MSNBC or CNN, because the 1 and 2 agitators of black folk are now gone, and they don't have a microphone. So that's an issue, number one. Number two, it's weird. It must be weird to at his age be sort of collected and turned out with crazy ideology at a very advanced age. Okay, so Joe Biden is 82 years old. When Joe Biden was 65, I didn't hear a word from him about the trans community, the gay community, or climate change, or whatever he's calling it, which means, Dave, you could think very differently than you think right now, somewhere in your early 70s or late 60s, which I think is sort of an insane proposition. Now, it just shows he's an empty vessel and will say anything about anything.
We have no idea what he actually believes. That's sort of a complete sidebar in some sense.
Right.
What he actually believes, we can only take it on what he reads off the prompter.
Right. Now, the climate change, my whole thing with all the climate change people is, let's just do this. Let's just agree that you're right 100%. Climate change. That's what we're dealing with. That's why we have this situation. Okay, now what's the plan? Electric leaf blowers? What is the plan? Getting China to do what? Getting India to do what? What is the plan? I'm with you. You're right. You're 100% right. Now what? Here we go. What's the plan?
Right. And of course, they don't have a plan. And at the micro level, and this Drew was making this point on the show a couple of weeks ago. I mean, at the micro level, it's like, well, if you do believe in climate change and you live in Cali, you've had the governor for years and years and years. You have the mayor of Los Angeles for years and years and years. You have a supermajority in the House forever in Cali. What did you guys do? So putting aside whether China or India are doing anything for it, it's like you guys did nothing yourself. Enough of the bad stuff. Let's get to the good stuff, the golden age. But first, let's talk about wrinkle filler. We've been told our whole lives that wrinkle creams were the easiest way to look younger. Now, one doctor says that's nothing but old news. According to Dr. John Lake, the world-renowned Beverly Hills beauty expert, most wrinkle fixes on the market are nothing but glorified moisturizers. They hardly make a dent on your appearance, and some can even be harmful to your skin, he said. Recently, Dr. Lake has focused his attention away from mainstream cosmetic practices. Why? So he can pursue a revolutionary anti-aging breakthrough, one that some experts say could empty the wallets of the cosmetic industry. It's almost like Photoshop for your face. You may even be mad after seeing how easy it is to visibly erase your wrinkles from view, Lake told reporters. His personal clients have dubbed his new do-it-yourself technique the age rewinder method because it can take years or even decades off your appearance in under 2 minutes. In light of this amazing breakthrough, Dr. Lake has released a step-by-step video to the public, free and uninterrupted, where he outlines exactly how to use this simple solution from home. You can find out more about this yourself right now. Go to bhmd1.com/Rubin or click the link in the description box below. That's bhmd1.com/Rubin. Again, go watch the video at bhmd1.com/Rubin right now, or just click the link in the description box below. All right, so the golden age is here, and it is being ushered in by a golden man who is now promising to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion from all forms of government.
This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life.
You think that's all we needed here, Adam? Like, we just needed to get to this moment to reverse enough of this stuff, and then just what he's good at, particularly, I think, is signaling to people like, we're not going to do it anymore. And then everyone else will figure out ways in their own life and their own business to replicate that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there is a core that lies within most people, a sort of pragmatic core. When you kind of hear something that's straight and makes sense, even people that are captured can sort of go, all right. Also, the whole diversity experiment thing is just blown up in their faces.
Yeah.
I mean, look no further than Kamala Harris. I mean, idiot Joe Biden just went, oh, well, I'm going to find a vice president who's a woman of color and others need not apply. And so he got a woman of color who happens to be a dingbat and set the movement back 30 years. I mean, she did horrible damage to the whole movement because now it's like, I don't know. That's a horrible. It's basically you going, it's 1965 and you go, I'm the New York Giants. I'm going to get a black quarterback. And people go, okay, but the guy's got to be a good quarterback. Any black quarterback is going to work. And then the guy goes and throws 6 picks for every touchdown he throws. And now you've hurt the movement, if you think about it. Also, what are some examples of this working out? Is it Mayor London Breed of San Francisco? Is it the former mayor of Chicago? Like, is it Karen Bass? Like this notion of like, well, women and women of color would make better. I don't see any evidence that they make better anything. They don't make worse. It has nothing to do with the color of their skin or their sexual proclivities. We need qualified people. That's it. In terms of the fire chief, in terms of the mayor, in terms of the vice president, we just need qualified. That's all. It's always been that way. And what
Adam Carolla, the bigot.
Flawed. Yes, good. What they did is inherently flawed. It wouldn't work. It can't work. I mean, it is, and it's also kind of insulting to whatever group you're trying to push along. I would argue.
Right. It's the soft bigotry of low expectations. Oh, you guys, we better give you guys some extra cookies because you can't get cookies on your own.
Right.
It's actual racism, just with the veneer of pleasantness around it. Since we're talking about climate change and everything else, one of the other things that, of course, the Democrats have tried to do is push this ridiculous Green New Deal, which had far more to do with rejiggering our economy than doing anything as it pertains to clean air or water. Donald Trump just signed an executive order that will unleash American energy.
We have Alaska, sir. This is an executive order relating to unleashing Alaska's potential as an energy reservoir for the entire nation.
And what about ANWR?
I believe that would be included in aspects of the order.
So we're opening up ANWR.
The reason I wanted to show that clip, Adam, was because he's even asking more questions as he's signing these things. Like he's directionally right when it comes to, hey, let's be energy independent and we still do need fossil fuels and we can look more to nuclear and all those things. But he's still, as he's doing it, the point is there's wherewithal there. And what a contrast, man, to where we were last week.
Oh, my God. It's so sad that so many people supported and defended Biden for as long as they did. And the thing that's really insidious about Biden is I think his supporters, if you gave him a beer, would go, look, all right, the guy's no genius, and I don't even really know what his policies are, and he probably doesn't know what his policies are. And yes, maybe some of his policies did hurt us at the border with, energy creation, things like that. Fine. The economy, fine. But he's a fair and decent man who loves this country. And it's like, no, he's not. He's a criminal who's the head of a criminal enterprise who has involved most everyone in his family in his criminal behavior. And that's why he had to pardon them all. Like he is everything the left hates about politicians for the last 70 years. All this sort of my mom, lefty, these corrupt Washington guys.
Right.
That's everything they hate is going to Ukraine and going to China and going to other rogue nations and hammering checks because of nepotism. That's everything they've always hated. And Joe Biden is a poster child for that. Now, Donald Trump looks like the poster child for that, but Joe Biden is the poster child for that.
It's extraordinary. I mean, even just this whole week when Biden pardoned his brother and some of the other family members, and then you probably saw it, but there was this great compilation video going around from 4 years ago with all of these MSNBC and the usual suspects on CNN basically saying Trump's going to pardon his children and how criminal it is. Trump didn't pardon his children, and Biden actually did, and now they're all taking the completely reverse step. One more clip for you that I think ties this all nicely together. We are also... Everyone calm down, guys. We're withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accords.
But I'm immediately withdrawing from the unfair, one-sided Paris Climate Accord ripoff. The United States will not sabotage our own industries while China pollutes with impunity. You know,
Adam, I'm a simple man, you know, so maybe you can help me with this. We were in the Paris Accords, then Trump got us out of the Paris Accords, then we went back in the Paris Accords, and now we're going to get out of the Paris Accords. Did the Paris Accords do anything during those in and outs, those come and goes that we did? Are we going to be okay? How long do we got, man?
Well, look, someone's got to get into John Kerry's private jet and ask him. He's probably flying. He's in the air somewhere now in a G5 somewhere, and going to Davos perhaps to save the environment. I don't know, but we're going to have to ask John Kerry if he's not, when he lands in one of his multiple private jets, what is going on with the Paris Accords.
It's very sad. Adam, on that note, I guess my only other question would be, does Dr. Drew wear tighty whities or boxer shorts?
He's a boxer brief guy, which is a traditional sort of take on a boxer, but boxer's kind of your dad's boxer. He's a boxer brief.
I mean, you guys really should be doing an upgraded version of The Odd Couple. Like it's so obvious you're Oscar and you're rolling in and you're, you know, like you got your cigar and you're doing your thing. And there he is trying to live a life with his wife.
I know. And he just had a grandbaby too. But they had to make more coffee this morning because I poured 3 cups before they got to it, you know.
Well, joking aside, Adam, good luck with the fiasco over there. And, you know, Florida's closing up shop pretty soon, but I know a couple people, so we can still get you in, you know?
God, so tempted. I know. I'm putting the duh in Florida. That's what I would say.
All right. Thanks to Adam Carolla. You guys know where to find him, and the link to his podcast is down below. Friday, so no post-game show. We will see you on Monday.